Happy post-SummerSlam video, my friends. Hot WrestleMania 2024 is in the books, and we are going to get right into it, because flub me sideways, there's a lot to say. But firstly, we had a lot of title changes on this show, which I think is important to bring up, because let's not forget, ever since Triple H took over, his kind of MO has been to do longer title reigns. Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, before she got injured, Gunther with the Intercontinental Championship. Whereas now we've kind of gone from WrestleMania, and we've arrived at WrestleMania 2, or SummerSlam, as we do call it, and we changed 4 titles? I think so, maybe even 5, I can't remember. But it was a lot, which means we have a load of brand new stories to tell as we are coming out the side. And in terms of shenanigans and heel turns and oh my gosh, surprise returns, it was all over the place, which is also a good thing. Like, I don't understand how anybody can watch WWE these days and go, oh, I can't believe they're doing this nonsense. WWE is nonsense, and never forget nonsense is a good word. It's a positive word. It gets me excited. We will start with Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's Championship, because that was the first one that we saw. And Dominic Mysterio just came out with Rhea Ripley. There was a very nice part in the back where they did sort of give each other a hug, and there was probably some reality to that as well, because let's not forget, they basically made each other's careers a couple of years ago, or at least cemented it, because they had such a good partnership all of this time. And I just thought it was fantastic from start to finish. You could probably tell that Rhea Ripley and WWE, I'd presume, were taking care of her shoulder. There's nothing wrong with that. I saw one stupid tweet, and it was from quite a reputable person, but I won't call them out because you are allowed their opinions, and I never want to start beef. But they were like, oh man, I can't believe they held back that much. Absolute rubbish. No, man, you got to be smart. Why go out there and go absolutely crazy when you could have the second match when Rhea Ripley has had time to rehab a bit more, and she is definitely 100%, then just do it now and put her back on the shelf. Sometimes less is more. And this wasn't even about the match. They could have just stared at each other for 20 minutes and it would have been totally fine. This was about establishing the battle lines, right? Especially with the Damian Priest versus Gunther match later, which we will get to. But, you know, Rhea goes to use the chair and Dominic stops her. And at first you're like, oh, Dom, how dare you? Then you realize, oh no, he's being a lovely moustache man. Because if Rhea does use the chair, she's going to get DQ'd, because that is part of the rules. When he slides the chair in later, it's meant to be for Rhea Ripley, but come on now. Liv hits the Oblivion onto the steel, gets the 1, 2, 3. Dominic is smiling instantly, which I did like, because it told you we're not mucking around here. We're not standing on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. And then, yeah, as soon as Rhea Ripley had come to Morgan and Dominic Mysterio made out. And they properly made out as well, like, because the internet's a weird place. They showed up close footage and they were using tongues and stuff. And I was like, man, I've seen that. I can't unsee that. And they skip away and Rhea Ripley is about to implode. Now, the reason I super like this, because it means heel Dom has just turned heel, which is incredible. He's gone double heel. He's going to get mega heat. But babyface Rhea just turned babyface. Now we have double heel versus double babyface. I think we should just do the Rhea Ripley versus Dominic Mysterio match. Who cares? As long as they're into it and WWE is fine with it and there's no sadness, just give me what I want, as Dave Bautista once said. It's 2024. I wouldn't have a problem with it, and I just think it would be wonderful. And Liv Morgan should be the special guest referee. I am, of course, kidding. But this to me was very effective in the sense that it was simple and it was obvious. But simple and obvious are good things. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I went to see Deadpool versus Wolverine the other day, and I wanted a bunch of cameos, and I wanted it to be really nerdy and insider. That's what it was. Doesn't mean I walk away going, oh my gosh, I expected so much more. No, they gave me what I wanted. There's that word again. So really, really good. And I think this just establishes Dom as the worst person on the planet, and it establishes Rhea Ripley as an even bigger star than she already was. And by the end of the year, she is probably going to be in the stratosphere. Eventually, I think you could probably build the entire company around her. And Liv Morgan is just so good in this role. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, I think if you would have told someone that Liv would have been better as a heel, they would have looked to you like, man, you got 2 heads or something. But you just never know. I suppose it's like Dominic Mysterio when he fell into his bad guy role. I just love it. I think they have great chemistry altogether. They should be taking sign classes. I love the story. I love the fact the championship is involved. It can only go good places, and I would guess at Bad Blood, given the name of the thing, we can do round 2. And who knows what WWE will decide, but it was definitely a couple of thumbs up from me. This was Bron Breakker versus Sami Zayn. Now, ups and downs for SummerSlam will be hopefully live now or live later, so go over to What Culture, subscribe. Subscribe to me too, please. It fills my ego. That's all YouTube is. Please increase my self-worth. But I did check the time, which I've now forgotten, but I hadn't checked it when I did ups and downs. I think it was like 5 minutes and 42 seconds. That is rare for a pay-per-view premium live event that Triple H puts on. But my gosh, did it work, because it just showed you that Bron Breakker was truthful. He told us on Raw, I'm going to kill this man. That's what I'm going to do. Like, are you though, Bron? Yeah, I'm going to kill this man. Because he goes out there and does comedy shows, goes to spear him straight away when he ran into Tina Turnbuckle. It was absolutely hilarious. In every single match, I think, somebody went into the turnbuckle with their shoulder. So WWE is usually quite good with that. I don't know what happened there, but it doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck? But yeah, he just absolutely brutalized this guy. Sami Zayn was able to hit the exploder and the least devastating move in all the sports entertainment, the Blue Thunder Bomb, which was never going to work. So Braun was like, all right, well, I'm just going to throw you around and give you 2 spears, 1, 2, 3. Awesome, especially because, again, given the main event, Sami Zayn is probably going to spin back off with the Bloodline for a while as we do that Civil War. And now Braun Breaker can just go on to be an awesome Intercontinental Champion. You can do the rematch as well, where Braun goes 2-1 up in the feud. It just worked. Once again, I'm just going to keep using this word. Sponsored by SIMPLE, simple. It's just, you don't have to overthink things sometimes. What are we trying to do? Establish Braun Breaker. Do we feel like Sami Zayn in a great position? Yes, one of the best wrestlers ever that people never talk about in terms of understanding what you should do and when you should do it. And now Breaker is the Intercontinental Champion, a title that does have prestige, and he can just ride it and ride it and ride it and beat people up and have match after match after match, and it's only going to get better and better. So there isn't even that much to say. I thought it was well placed on the card, coming in second, and it was done. It's like I was at the opera. I wanted to stand up and just applaud and say, oh, well done, bravo, bravo, because you can watch it with your suspension of disbelief goggles on. But when you take them off and go back into Geek World, you're like, well, yeah, that's what we should have done, and we did it. So awesome. And of course, our first title change of the night, as we got into another one, because it was, I think I'm getting confused now. I'm just going to go with Nia Jax versus Bayley. I'm getting confused of the order of matches. Maybe LA Knight versus Logan Paul was first. You know what I think that was? And we saw Stephanie McMahon cameo. We saw Machine Gun Kelly cameo, because why wouldn't you want cameos? They are the in thing at the moment. And we did it again, right? As Britney Spears would tell us. The reason I wanted LA Knight to win this, forget about all the Logan Paul stuff outside of the ring. I know, but if we start bringing in everybody's dirty laundry, we're going to have to talk about every single person every single time. Very sad. That's just the showbiz world. So focusing in terms of wrestling, LA Knight winning this was so damn cool, because when you look into his journey and his ups and his downs, I would know all about that. He really does deserve this, especially because he definitely sort of hit the main event level sort of last year, but then it just got overcrowded and he kind of got moved down a few notches. He still held himself like a star. He still spoke like a star. He still had the bravado and the confidence and the fan support, most importantly. So when he did get the victory here after he reversed the buckshot into the BFT and got the 1, 2, 3, and that rhymes, so it must be true. It was a proper warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum moment. Even if you're just watching it through the lens of, oh, I like that guy, or you're watching it through the lens of, I've been watching this guy for 20 plus years and he finally made it. And I think that's really important for the US title too, because back in the day, 10 years ago especially, winning the US Championship meant nothing, and that was nobody's fault other than Vince McMahon, who had ran those titles into the ground, whereas now they do mean something. And now I think we should Gunther-fy, if that would be the right word, this US title and really give it meaning, because that's what Gunther did for it on Raw. Logan Paul also busted out the most amazing springboard boots I've ever seen in my life. It was so effortless and fast. The guy is a really good in-ring worker, and of course, Machine Gun Kelly passed him some brass nuts. Why wouldn't you book that? Come on now. And it was a nice tease, because he punched Logan Paul in the face, but then yeah, he just gets his finish reversed, and that was 1, 2, 3. LA Knight also broke the crime counter because he smashed the door of Logan Paul's car, or the window I should say. It was just a lot of fun, and while there isn't really much you can take away from the match, it probably couldn't have gone more than 12 minutes. It did everything that it needed to do, and was another great example of not overthinking. Like, everyone just sat down and said, this is what we need to achieve, what's the best possible route to get there, and we did get there. And like I say, another title change, and I'm very excited to see what we do with this championship. I would have LA Knight hold it until at least WrestleMania. And it's much like Cody Rhodes at the top of the card. Having somebody that people just love and they just want to see do well. I don't know, man. There's a special feeling of that in professional wrestling. So by this point, I was just having the best time. I was like, again, I'm not being super surprised here, apart from the Dom stuff. But again, that was an expected surprise. But we were just hitting all of the notes, which is what we did with Nia Jax versus Bayley. Now, listen, the fact that my predictions were 95% right goes to show I'm not smart when it comes to professional wrestling. But it was right there on paper. It's like reading a novel, which is, you know, giving you the exposition, telling you what direction you should go in. But to me, the keys here were to get Nia Jax as the champion, mostly so we could tell people next year the Queen of the Ring is really important, look where it can lead you, but also to establish the fact that Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax are now best of buddies. But that's an odd couple, because Tiffany Stratton has the one thing that you want your friend to have, which is a cash-in opportunity for the championship, which you now won. We sold Nia's strength. We sold the fact that Bayley is the wily veteran who knows what she's doing and she's a really good wrestler. But ultimately, Tiffany did try to cash in. Bayley, being a professional wrestler, could not handle shenanigans happening outside of the ring. So once she had to deal with that, there was a little bit more after this, a little bit more tet for tet, but eventually it did all go bad. And Nia Jax not only hit her with about 78 power bombs, but smashed her with 2 annihilators to really underline. I had to do some damage here, and she got the 1, 2, 3. Now, I have a whole video about this. I probably have to shelf because I'm so far behind. I do apologize for that. Or maybe we'll put it up. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw it out for patrons, right? We want to do that for a while to give more patrons rewards. Patreon.com/Simon316 if you do care. But the booking of Bayley post-WrestleMania has not been great. It's not been bad. It's not been terrible. But I think it kind of ties into the rhetoric that is out there between you and I, that sometimes she does get, not forgotten about, but pushed into the background too much. She's still one of the most underrated people on that roster. And that shouldn't be the case when you are a champion. You should be front and center and you should be having a decent feud. Now, given that Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton just did this to her, we have the pieces in place. And that's why I think it's good that Nia won. Not only because I think Nia's been great ever since she came back, and I think she deserves a good run with the championship, but if Bayley can overcome the odds, then we get back to round 2, and hopefully that way we can cement it just a little bit better. But it's a really, really fun match. Again, did exactly what I thought it was going to do. And by this point, given we were 4 matches in, I was like, listen, these aren't 25-minute epics, but I don't want 25-minute epics all of the time, especially when I'm watching WWE, because that's not how I think they approach things. Maybe at WrestleMania they do a little bit, but I think right now, I think this is a good thing. I'm saying this is a positive way. WWE pay-per-views and AEW pay-per-views feel completely different, and that's what I want. I don't want them to feel the same. That would be rubbish, and you're allowed to have that criticism. Of course you are, but for me, it was just like, no, I want to be able to watch WWE and feel like I'm watching WWE, and watch AEW and feel like I'm watching AEW. Then my money goes further, and my entertainment goes further, and whatever it is I'm craving from wrestling that day is what I can get. I'm also very excited about Nia Jax being champion. I think in terms of characters, she's one of the best at the moment. She just embraces being an obnoxious heel, and that's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, another couple of thumbs up for me. Oh, it's having a good time. When we got to CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with sparkly Seth Rollins in his referee outfit as the special guest referee, this has divided a lot of people, which I like, to be honest with you. I think it's great when there's a discourse and a discussion to be had. And this one was always going to be the one that had that fence sitting because it had the most anticipation, which meant the bar was higher. I loved it, like I really did. I had one teeny tiny criticism. Actually, somebody delivered that to me, but I couldn't fault it, that I'll get to in a little bit. They didn't lock up. There was no wrestling. They just fought. I think Seth Rollins getting involved was super duper important because we're clearly setting up things to go along with this with all 3 of them. So you're going to fight me and I'm going to fight you and everyone's going to fight our Nan. And it was just a big homage to CM Punk. It was a big homage to SummerSlam 1997. It was Bret Hart versus Taker with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. Now, if you'd seen that match, it would have made this match a little bit better. If you haven't, it doesn't matter because that match is still good. So you can carry the depth across. And ultimately, it was CM Punk that cost himself. Now, I guess the big talking point is the bracelet. I don't know why I'm pretending to hold it. Clearly, I'm not holding a bracelet. But some people, and someone actually just tweeted me this a minute ago because I asked for your opinions for a video we're going to do. They said, well, I thought that was really silly and it made me laugh out loud. It's all about suspension of disbelief, as I use that word again. This is something that we would do in a movie. So maybe it's quite deep for wrestling, but that's a stupid thing for me to say, and I should be shot out of a cannon. But as long as you believe that CM Punk loves that bracelet and it means something to him, and it has sentimentality because he loves his dog and he loves his wife, then yes, he would break the Anaconda Vice in order to get it back from Drew, because that's one of the things that ticked him off so much. I love stuff like that. I'm not saying it was the best executed thing that I've ever seen in my life, but I absolutely want wrestling to touch on those beats because it's something that I can relate to. I have stuff that if you took or you damaged or you did something mean to on purpose, I would be livid at you. So maybe it was a bit too much when Seth Rollins had it on, but it's pro wrestling. I want stuff like that. The day we get rid of that in pro wrestling, I don't want to watch anymore. I want to walk that line. I want to have all the fun with it. And eventually that leads to CM Punk and Seth Rollins getting into it. Punk just hits him with the GTS. Drew then gets his own revenge by kicking Punk in the balls, which were having a Clash of the Castle. Claymore kick, 1, 2, 3. I like all of this. I really do. Again, the only criticism as I had is that we had multiple visual pinfalls on Drew McIntyre when Seth Rollins was out of position to build this heightened tension. I think you probably could have done one because we've already established over the entire year that Punk and Seth don't like each other and that all these guys hate each other. So I think one of these, be it after the GTS or the surprise roll, whatever it was, combined with the wrist bracelet, whatever you want to call it, would have been better for Drew. But this is like a minor, teeny thing. You can just forget about that. Just don't overly address it on TV and just have Punk say, hey, man, I did have him for the 3. And Punk still got the loss and Drew got the win. Drew's already on social media being absolutely hilarious and cementing his hater on the yearboard. So now this lives up to my expectations for sure because I wanted it to be somewhat open-ended. I don't want a one and done. I wanted them to kick each other's ass, which they did do. There was one bit where it's like all in from last year when Drew was swinging CM Punk into Alan the announce table, and I want Punk to start getting involved with Seth Rollins on a more physical level in terms of one-on-one matches. And now we have to do that, be it at Bad Blood or Bash at Berlin or Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble, eventually with the Triple Threat match, and maybe the World Championship gets involved in there. But I didn't have a problem with it, and I was more surprised that there was some, I can't believe it, when I did get to the internet after the fact. But I think we have planted seeds here to the point that when we do watch match 2, match 3, match 4, match 5, match 6, we go back to match 1, it will mean even more because you can follow the breadcrumb trail, and it's going to be like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But by this point, I was just having the best old time. I thought it was a really, really good pay-per-view. And Drew McIntyre winning was the right thing to do. Seth Rollins getting involved and being a huge question mark was the right thing to do. And Drew McIntyre ignoring all of that, which will make him the ultimate hypocrite, makes him a hypocrite within being a hypocrite, is the right thing to do. So absolutely, please. This seems to be the one where people want to talk the most. All good by me. There is a comment box down there. Get involved and let me know. You can say whatever you want. Just be nice. Don't need to be horrible. Actually, I will say one last thing. I said it on Ups and Downs too. Don't say stuff like CM Punk looked gas out there. You can say it in an observational way. Do not say it in a horrible, negative way. I have wrestled, and I can tell you this. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It is difficult when you're wrestling week in and week out. The dude has been out for 7 months. Of course, it's going to take him for a while. I've got a match on Thursday, which is my first match in 2 months after my shoulder injury. I'm doing as much as I can cardio-wise. I know I'm going to be blowing wind after 20 seconds. That's just how it works. I don't like that, and I don't think you should commentate on it unless you've been in the ring yourself. And again, that's the only time I would say that. I think everything else is fair game. It just annoys me. And if you want to roll your eyes at me, you're perfectly allowed. And I tell you who else is going to get some eye rolling? Finn flipping Balor. Because we moved into Gunther versus Damian Priest for World Heavyweight Championship, and really SummerSlam was all about the brand new Judgment Day. We'll just get to the end here. Listen, awesome match. Damian Priest is like some kind of chameleon where he will match whatever his opponent is throwing at. Gunther was a world champion before he was a world champion. They had done such a good job in establishing this. I had a wonderful time. I really did. The fact that it was Damian Priest who opened up Gunther's chest with these chops, it's just the small details. But ultimately, when you really don't know which direction it's going to go in, like I totally had no idea. And I would suppose out of all of the matches, maybe not Drew and CM Punk, but this one 10 times as much as that one. Finn Balor runs out. Now listen, Gunther booted him in the face right away. So WWE told you this is not a plan. Gunther ain't during the Judgment Day. He is as annoyed as anybody that Finn has come out. But once Damian Priest has hit the razor's edge and the big choke slam, we get the 1, we get the 2, and Finn Balor put Gunther's feet onto the ropes because he was telling Damian Priest, you at the Judgment Day, I don't like you anymore. Damian Priest only found this out because he saw it on the big screen, which was another amazing touch. The presentation on this show, as well as the ref cam, is the greatest thing ever. And eventually he's so distracted, I suppose, by Finn Balor, he gets put in the sleeper a couple of times, and eventually he realized he hadn't got his 8 hours, and he passed out, and Gunther is your world champion. As soon as that belt was around Gunther's waist, I was like, man, that looks good. I can totally buy into this. Damian Priest was just a destroyed mess because he lost his friend, he lost his group, and he lost his title. And now I guess he's pulled in multiple directions, but it also means at the very least, we can probably do Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, which will be all the fun in the world. And it gives Damian Priest a reason to leave the World Championship for a little bit because he has to deal with personal beef, and you could do something with Gunther and Finn Balor down the line. Gunther may address this, maybe Gunther doesn't address this, but it protects him too. This was a phenomenal, fantastic match. I really enjoyed it, and I think Damian Priest comes out the other side as an absolute main eventer for a long-ass time. Gunther was already there, but now again, being in the position is only going to help. And Finn Balor is just having the time of his life, and I love him. He was massively underrated too, and now he's sort of refound his place. I think he talked about this in an interview too, but there was just something special about this, and I don't know what it was. And I think it's massively important because fair play to Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre counts in that as well, probably CM Punk, Damian Priest for sure, and now Gunther. They have made that title mean something, and they've made it mean it's something completely different to the championship that Cody has. So that's a massive round of applause. And as we have brought him up, main event for the Super Duper Whooper title, Cody versus Solo Sikoa. Pharaoh has been retired from the road, Cody's dog, so that was sad. But Arn Anderson was there with his gun, didn't really have his gun, but promised Cody that some friends may be on the way, which was a huge tease. Lovely to see those two back together again. And listen, it was half an hour long. 15 minutes had nothing to do with bloodline rules, which WWE loves doing, but hey, the format worked, so why fix it? When we got to the second half, and yeah, absolute shenanigans. Cody's about to win. Here's Tamatonga, here's Tangaloa. Out come Randy Orton, out come Kevin Owens. They all fight each other away to the back. Then Jacob Fatu is here. He just destroys everybody. Did the big splash off the turnbuckle through a table and sold his leg. Now he's either injured or this was the best sell job ever. And there is some credence to the fact that it may be a work because you don't want him and Roman clashing rushing just yet. So if it is a work, that man is so good. I totally bought it. I was like, he's clearly injured. How could he not be injured? Nobody can sell that well, but nobody cares about that. What you do care about is after a bunch of 1-2-oohs, and maybe Solo's going to win, and maybe Cody was going to win. Cody takes out Solo with the Cody cutter, which I did think was important. He was on top here, so he can have some beef with a certain someone. And during the match, which I was a huge fan of, Roman Reigns' music hits. He comes out. The place went nuts. So somewhere, whoever first booked the Roman Reigns babyface term was like, oh, I'm so happy. Only took a decade. Comes out, kind of pretended that he was going to Superman punch Cody for about a millisecond, turns to Solo Sikoa, hits the big spear after the ooh-wah, and hearing 50,000 people do that was really cool. Does that, Crossroads 1, 2, 3, and the whole time Cody's looking at Roman and Roman looking at Cody. We did a whole video on this. I wanted him to get involved in the match because I'm a comic book geek. Again, we've just seen Deadpool and Wolverine. Batman always got into Superman's business. Superman always got into Batman's business when it was for the greater good. Batman didn't really appreciate it. Superman didn't really appreciate it. And that's what Cody can do here. I don't think Cody looks like a loser or like he wasn't going to beat Solo Sikoa. Again, he was on top before Roman Reigns came back. It just felt like Roman was like, well, it's an ODQ, man, and I can get involved whenever I want because it is a WWE encounter. We waited until the last second. But I'm all down on this Bloodline Rules stuff. Hilariously, Cody is 2-0 up in somebody else's match, which I also love. And Roman Reigns is back. This episode of SmackDown is going to do mad numbers because you want it. What's going to happen with him and the Bloodline? What's going to happen with him and Cody? It's just tremendous fun. Maybe it was a little bit too long, but who cares about that? Made me laugh that we didn't start using weapons until like the 16th minute mark. But these are all things that I can ignore because from minute nothing to minute 30, I was having the best time. Yes, I never actually thought Solo Sikoa was going to walk away with the World Championship. I think people are being way too harsh on him. I think he held his own. No, he's not on the level of a Cody or a Roman, but there has to be some hierarchical stuff here. So just brilliant. Cody Rhodes is still the champion. Roman Reigns is back. Again, so much to talk about, so much to get excited about, and all round, I think WWE hit a massive home run with this show. If we are trying to pitch it like WrestleMania Part 2, which we are, Triple H in the post-press conference even said it's probably the last night single-day SummerSlam, and it's going to be the same for the Royal Rumble, and maybe in the future Survivor Series too. But if this is the kind of stuff that we're going to do, I have no problem with it. And again, all the title changes, all the heel turns, all the surprises, so many stories to tell on Raw and SmackDown, it gets a couple of thumbs up to me. And just as a small aside, the people that say, oh, Simon, you enjoy everything, it's actually not true. I don't enjoy everything. If you want me to be a nitpicking Nelly, I can be. Like the shoulder into the turnbuckle spot. It was frustrating, but I don't think you tune in to watch some bald idiot try to ruin your fun when mostly I had a fun time too. So again, make sure you let me know what you thought in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is the worst booking for SummerSlam that you guys sent in. Very, very funny stuff. Otherwise, it is grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off. These are fitness supplements that I use. You can get this t-shirt along with others at Pro Wrestling Tees. A Go Fitness. Use code Simon20 to get money off Anthony Gogo's fitness app. It's very, very good. It is patreon.com/Simon316. Come follow me on social media at Simon316. That enjoys me as well. Simon Miller on Cameo. Let me do you a personalized video message, or Simon J. Miller on TikTok. That's it. We have come to the end of another wrestling week. I'm absolutely exhausted because there's so much to do, but I feel privileged to do it as well. But make sure you give me your thoughts and opinions on SummerSlam down there. And again, if you do head over to my Twitter right now at Simon316, I've asked for your opinions. I'm going to get a load of those tweets, and we're going to do like an almost secondary review based on your thoughts, because I'm sure you have different opinions, as you should do. But I appreciate the love, and I'll see you on the next one.